As a headline here, U.S. envoy accuses Iran and UAE of complicity in Sudan war.
I don't know anything about Iran, but UAE definitely.
Yeah.
The UAE definitely is the backers of the RSF. And one of the reasons for that is it's not the reason, but one of the reasons, and one of the I'd say mechanisms for support for the RSF is the gold. The RSF it controls some major gold mines, and this is also one of the reasons why Darfur is a big issue now, because the RSF controls Darfur, and Darfur has major gold mines, and like 99% of the gold that's exported from Sudan, or the importer of gold from Sudan, is the Emirate, is the UAE.
Iran is being accused of supplying Sudan's army with military drones.
Well, good. At least they're supplying the right side. You should be supporting the army. You should be supporting the Sudanese armed forces against the RSF, and so should the UAE. This is disgraceful that they've been supporting the RSF all this time. It's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, I understand just from a. I've talked about it a few times, but you know, for anyone maybe who hasn't seen my content on Sudan, I haven't talked about it for a while, to be honest. But I was covering it right from the beginning when the attempted coup took place, and I was saying I was pointing the finger at the UAE long before anyone even talked about it, and I also suspected involvement of Saudi Arabia. Not as actively as UAE, but Saudi Arabia has a role in this as well. And like, okay, so from a realpolitik point of view, not a moral point of view, you can understand why the UAE and Saudi Arabia would back a coup, because they were afraid that a transition to civilian government might threaten their position as sort of the controlling broker in Sudan, and that either Russia or China or the United States would be able to sway whatever civilian government came to power. But so they wanted to have Sudan completely under their control. This is my opinion. You can take it or leave it. They wanted to have Sudan completely under their control, so that they could be the ones that all three, Russia, China, and the United States, would have to deal with regards to any of their interests in Sudan. And I think that they believed that the RSF, the UAE believed that the RSF, they were, you know, convinced by Dagalo that it would be a cakewalk. They'd be able to take over the government and, you know, proceed as planned. However, the RSF were not as capable as they promised or led the UAE to believe. I think that this is the way I see it. I think that it was the RSF, who they have a previously existing relationship with the UAE. It's one of the militias that the UAE has been involved in for a while. They've worked. They sent them to Yemen. They had them fighting in Yemen. They had them fighting in Libya. So there's a relationship there. There has been. So I think that the UAE wanted to get the RSF in charge of Sudan, and they brought Saudi Arabia in on the plan, and then they got sort of a go-ahead from Russia, China, and to a certain extent the United States, which is, we're letting you know that we're doing this. And they believed that it would be over within a matter of days or weeks at most. And it obviously has proven to be over a year of civil war and unbelievable strife. Millions, it's like the largest crises of displacement, internal displacement of people anywhere in the world.
I have a headline from Europe. With weapons and gold mining, Wagner cashes in on Sudan.
Wagner, yeah.
Yeah, so Wagner is providing weapons.
Yeah, this is also known. This is why I say that Russia was involved. Because anyway, we already know there's a relationship between Russia, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, and Russia is the Wagner is active in Africa generally, and they have done training and supplying of weapons and so on to the RSF. This is also known. So I think that this was all a plan with the belief that it would be executed efficiently and quickly. However, it's spiraled terribly out of control for, as I say, over a year now, or roughly a year now. And they should have called it off a long time ago. A long time ago. The UAE should have thrown the RSF under the bus and put their full backing behind the Sudanese army. Okay, like I say, from just a realpolitik point of view, a realpolitik perspective, all right, I understand. It's excusable that you had it in your head that you could just have a coup over the government and take over so that you could have control over Sudan. I understand what the thinking is. I understand what your motives are. I understand how it's logical and how it makes sense to you. Forget about the fact that it's just wrong, but for your interests. But here's the thing, though. This is a problem that the UAE has, in my opinion, and I think that they've had this problem in Yemen as well, which is that you don't know when to call it quits. You don't know when to call it quits. You put too much of your credibility at stake. You put all of your credibility. You pin it to a military victory, a victory of the violence that you're sponsoring, and this is a mistake. This is a big mistake because you've lost credibility so much in Sudan. Everyone hates the RSF, as well they should. They're a vicious militia, and even if they win, even if somehow you're able to back them to the extent that they're able to win, that's not going to help your credibility at all. You would have been fine to just use soft power in Sudan under whoever the new government would be, whatever the civilian government was going to be when they transitioned to a civilian government. You could have just, you could have exercised your soft power with money, with investment, the same way that you're doing in Egypt, the same way that you're doing in Pakistan. You could have done it in Sudan. There's no need. And once you should have been able to realize after, let's just be generous, after 10 weeks of the conflict in Sudan, you should have thrown the RSF under the bus and switched your backing, flipped, and turned your backing to the side of the army and helped them to eliminate the RSF once and for all.